Good morning, good morning. Hello, Laura. Get my gloves on here. So I'll be doing a little live painting while I'm talking about my art and how I got into loving what I'm doing and creating the style that I have today that I think distinguishes me in the world of art, in the game of art. I'm gonna kind of give everybody a minute or two to, or as many that's going to join to come in and join us this morning. But I like to start off with a quote of my own. And this kind of popped in my head the other day, and I was typing up this little guide to go off of today. But I'll probably wing most of this and just let it be as authentic as possible, because that's really, really big with me in my world of art and how I create. I like authenticity, so I like to come from that angle with everything I create. So I'll read this quote to you guys, and it goes as follows. Art is only an illusion while it remains dormant within the artist. Once created, it forms a life of its own and then creates its own course of storylines and encounters among the public. Quote by DMO, which means Divine Made Original. And I'll explain that as I get into this morning's live. Kind of hit the camera over there and show you guys the piece that I'll be working on. I've been working on this one about a couple of weeks here. Zoom in on there. This piece here is inspired by my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists anyway, visual artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. And the piece that it's inspired by is called Horn Players. What I'm using with this particular piece is I'm doing a lot of scratching and using like different utensils and stuff that I find to scratch back into the surface as the paint is wet. And just create different textures and little unique things that you can see up close when you get up and direct with the piece. But like most of my work, this piece kind of dives into personal feelings about things going on in the world. Me being an African American black male, and just talks about also motivating other artists to create their own art, and that's something that's really big to me as well. But again, I'll get into that a little bit later. So I'm going to start out by introducing myself. My birth name is Devin Taylor. Art name is DMO. Divine Made Original is what that represents. And to give you guys a little background of where I'm from a small town about 30 miles south of Montgomery, where I currently live and work, which is here in MGM, and I love the city. Fort Deposit is where I started at with the art, where I wasn't born there. I was actually born here in Montgomery. But yeah, so the art thing and the competitive nature, spirit, and all that stuff began to develop there, and as a child, and I saw myself becoming, I won't say the artist that I am today, but the vision began there. As a small child, just pondering and thinking. I was always a thinker, and just trying to imagine the world from a different perspective, I think, than most of my peers and people of my age range. And that just began to develop into this really imaginative world that at some point I was able to not force, but allow to grow into what you see within a lot of my art. So, and guys, bear with me because this is like my first time doing a live. But yeah, I always saw myself very different, and I wanted to allow that to come through in my piece and in my creativity. So, yeah, let me see if I can show you guys a piece that like this here. This is a piece that I've created during the pandemic, and as you can see here, the character to wears this mask to kind of represent, the safety precautions that we're practicing today, and just trying to be as safe as possible in this really uncertain world that we're living in. And it's always been that way, but even more so now at this point, just not understanding what's going on, and just wanting a bit of normalcy, and just living the best we can through this pandemic, and trying to stay above float. So yeah, this piece here, if you look into it, it says dangerous, but spelled with 2 G's here, and that's just another way of me using my creative license to kind of to shift the normal things that we will probably spell. Most people would spell it with just properly with just the 1 G. So this piece here just talks about. I was coming from an angle of. This one's really inspired by music that I was listening to at the time, which was Miles Davis. And I can't really remember the album, but most people remember the album. I think it had Blue in the title. But yeah, as you can see, like a lot of the blues and stuff that I used in the piece was kind of what I was, taking from the music and stuff that I was listening to with that album. And I listened to that album throughout the entire duration of me creating this piece. So it just really took me to, I want to say, back into probably the era where he was creating that music. And so I kind of wanted to come from that angle. And, also knowing the type of lifestyle that Miles lived, which was kind of on the edge, but, he still never allowed that to really bother, what came out of him as a creative. And I like to do that myself. So I like to create, and I like to live, have fun, all that good stuff. And, and allow that to come through, reflect through my art. So yeah, this is one of many pieces that I'll show you guys today. Just to kind of give you guys an idea. And this character here is called the producer, but I like to say the producer as in D-A, D-A-P, the producer, D-A, like the baby, like something like that. So, this piece here is really one of the funnest ones I did, and so I use a technique that I like to call the drip technique. And this piece here in particular is called the Drip King. It was actually the second one that I created of this nature, and even got a little bit creative with the way I put my signature down in the corner there. If you can see that right there, DMO, as I said earlier. And let me go back because I kind of skipped ahead really a little bit beyond what I was talking about. But yeah, again, from Fort Deposit, at a young age, we moved to Haynesville, Alabama, which is about 15 miles away from Fort Deposit. There, I continued to hone my craft, practice art, not as much as I do today, but I began to understand that there was something that I really wanted to always be representing my art, which was my own uniqueness. And so I can remember really vividly creating these like muscle-bound characters and drawing these figures. I think probably inspired by like wrestling and stuff like that. I was really into wrestling at that time. So and other like heroes, Rambo, all those guys like that. One of my dad's favorite movies is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. With the legendary Clint Eastwood. So yeah, I think a lot of that stuff was popping up into just the stuff I would create and draw early on, and like these figures I would like repetitively draw over and over again, and it went so far as I began to teach my little brother. Keldrick C. Taylor, and like I put his name in a lot of my work as paper, and what that means is power and purpose equal royalty. So as like when I create, I like to have everything represent something, everything means something, and connect from one thing to the next. So there's never anything that I do or ever any piece that I create that doesn't represent or mean something to me personally, I think. So my little brother, he's deceased now. So that's one of the reasons why I paint his name and everything that I do, and that's just a way of me keeping his legacy alive and a lot of the things that we discussed, and just changing the trajectory of our family. And I would like to use my art for those means and just use it to just create a different narrative and just give hope to not only this generation, but the next generation that comes behind us, and will run across probably a lot of these pieces that I'm creating today, and it'll be able to give them like a story and a different outlook than what I think has been seen. And so that's really big to me too, is just giving a different something different to see, something different to look at. And, when you look at my art, you can really see that come across, I think. And that's one of the things that I get to a lot when people approach me or people see my art when I'm set up on the corner out here in front of my mother's house. And I'm so gracious to her because she allows me to, navigate her space, utilize her garage out here, which I like to call the DAP house. And what DAP stands for is Dreams, Art, and Power. And which has its own meaning in itself. And what my angle with that is, dreams, I feel like everyone has one, whether they tap into it or not, understand that they have a purpose, divine purpose that they're put on this earth to fulfill. And art, that says what it says in itself. And then power. I feel like you tap into your art. Everybody has a form of art that they create, and that's like the way that they're allowed to tell their story here on this earth, and motivate, inspire individuals that cross paths with them, or just cross paths with them, and from that I feel like you will begin to understand your power, in creating your art. And as I said before, one of the things I like to push is, just creating your own art, because there's something special in that and unique in creating and giving the world what's yours, versus mimicking someone else's style and all that stuff. Everybody's inspired by something. Don't get me wrong, but even in that, I feel like if you dig deep enough, you will be able to find what represents you, what is really of yourself, and and I think that will lead to you understanding the reason for you being here. So let me get started on working on the piece, but in a second. But to kind of cap off what I was saying about going back to my origins and all that stuff, and to where I am today with this art. Back into Hayneville, as I said before. Grew up there, pretty much born here in Montgomery, raised predominantly in Fort Deposit, Alabama. Moved to Hayneville. For anybody that's joining now, I'm just recapping that. moved to Haynesville, Alabama at about 7. Began to continue. I continued, practicing my craft of art there. Not as serious as I am today, obviously. But yeah, and that led to, me teaching my little brother how to draw. He was really good. He was really slow, but really good at creating himself. So he would focus on a lot of figurines and stuff like that, creating his own characters and stuff like that, kind of inspired by like video games and stuff like that we would play at the time. And me myself, I always had this thing about me of just creating something that felt like me. And I feel like if you can't do that, then you're kind of cheating yourself and you're cheating the world of understanding who you really are. And I think that's what you want to do is, you want to give people who you are and allow people to feel something about you as an artist when they approach your work. When they see your work, you don't have to even be present, and especially for like scholars or individuals that become collectors of yours, they'll be able to look at something of yours and say, hey, that's a piece by so-and-so. And in my case, that's a piece by DMO. Let me go back and talk to you guys a second about the name DMO and where that comes from. And again, what that means is Divine Made Original. Hey, Amy, how are you? I'm going to get to that in 1 second. I'll tell you my favorite piece. That's actually really hard to speak on, say, but I definitely have one that probably stands out to me more than anything, and it's just really based on the probably the vision that I had, more than likely the vision that I had for the piece, and then how it came out, which tends to be much better than I see it in my head in the beginning. But yeah, kind of got thrown off a little bit. But yeah, let me see. Well, here's one. I'm gonna step away from the camera for a second. This is one of my favorites, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen this piece here. This is. Can everybody see that? That's my Run DMC rendition there. Using again the heads of the producers to portray the different individuals in the group, in the hip hop group, the iconic hip hop group. I kind of try to bring that in so you guys can see some of the details. And this piece was really, really one of those ones that came out way better than I saw it in my head. But yeah, if I have to say one of my favorite pieces, that's one. And then this guy here too. My version of Muhammad Ali, that's definitely one of my favorites as well. And I do plan to do like a lot more of those. And so this style here started in my sketchbook, like most of my my pieces, they'll start as a sketch or something like that, really simple. Anybody that knows me, 9 times out of 10, if you see me, my sketchbook was somewhere close to me. Yeah, so this piece here just pretty much was the head part here. And once I began to take it to canvas, everything else came after that. But this piece here is called Made from Clay. And if you know the story of Muhammad Ali, you kind of know where that title comes from. And if you can look in there, you can see punishment. And I just kind of try to, bring everything that I know of his story within this one space on the surface on this piece. And here, if you'll look here, as I mentioned earlier, my brother's name, it goes in everything that I paint. So paper right there at the top. Let's see, right there. And again, what that means is power and purpose equal royalty. And yeah, so that's the way of me, identifying royalty and allowing the subjects that I represent in my work to stand out as kings. That's really important too to me. Just speaking on, just the importance of understanding who we are. We're kings, and as young men and queens as young women, we're royalty, and a lot of times we don't treat ourselves as so, but that's definitely who we are. And yeah, so I'm gonna get back to just to go back and kind of finish up what I was talking about with the art and identifying myself through my art, and always wanting to create something that's unique of myself. And relates to me. And so when I do that, I feel like when I begin to create these pieces, there's also someone that can relate to what I'm creating. I always feel like that when I'm creating something. So that's why I like to tap into my own story, because I always feel like you're not the only one that feels this way or sees something in this nature. Or I'm very observative. One thing about me, I'm kind of quiet, and that is probably the artist in me, because I'm sitting back in most cases listening and trying to, not really trying, but just being within my own mindset and thinking about the world around me, and just trying to gather an understanding at all times, pretty much, of what's going on. Hip hop show was crazy good. Oh yeah, definitely, and that's what that piece was for. For you guys that don't know, Amy put a comment that says the hip hop show was crazy. So yeah, that was When Did You Fall in Love with Hip Hop, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the title, and that was a show by my man Milton Madison. And I was invited to come in and paint two pieces actually for that show. And yeah, that definitely was a good body exposition of work, I'll say. And I want to kind of go with that show from the two pieces that I created, from like the Run DMC piece that you guys just saw. And I did a J. Cole piece that's like super crazy. Everybody loves that piece. Still have it if anybody would like to purchase that piece. Just hit me in my DMs, or emailing or whatever, and let's talk about you guys owning that piece, acquiring that piece rather. Yeah, so when I create, as I said before, that's really one of the things I like to dive in on is just authenticity, super important. And I say that over and over again because I would like artists that see this, and artists that don't know or have an idea where they're headed with what they're creating is oh, okay, got you. Give me 1 second. For some reason it's not letting me see. So guys, I just posted my IG Connect in the comments, as Amy said. Thank you, Amy. And yeah, just giving people the real you. As I like, to do, real life. I don't like to be, for lack of a better word, a fake person, or somebody that just, if I really don't vibe with you or something like that, I kind of keep my distance. So, like, and I'm like that as a creative sort of, I just stay off in my little space, the dap house, as I said before, and I just create this work. And I think a lot of artists tend to be, antisocial in a way, but I am social. It's just like I said before, I'm just really just kind of standing back and just watching the world around me, and just trying to picture a way to give it to people in a different light than what they've seen before, and just inspire people, and provide some fuel for people to go off of. So I'll talk a bit about how my pieces begin to develop, and I kind of dived into that just a little bit already. Some of them, for the most part, like a lot of them, start in my sketchbook. But sometimes I wing them. A lot of them, it's just like a feeling or a mood. It could be based upon some music that I'm listening to, a book that I'm reading, a show that I just watched, a quote that I just heard, anything that could, just one word sometimes can get me out here in this studio space for hours. Just one word that I hear and it gets me going. And once I'm out here, like I've had some pieces, like, let me grab these pieces from over here really quick. Like this entire series right here began just from one song that I heard. Right here. And this is the first one that I did. And I talked to Laura about this on yesterday. The title of this series is Roll the Dice. And what I'm talking about with this series is just really just taking that risk in life and going for it. Rolling the dice. An analogy for, just putting yourself out there, taking a shot, giving it a chance, which fear will keep a lot of us from doing that. So yeah, that whole series right there, which is a 10-part series, started from just listening to a song by Nas, my man Corday, and I forgot the other artist's name. Freddie Gibbs. And if I'm not mistaken, the song is called Roll the Dice. So yeah, it was actually the cover art as well as the song that kind of began the creative energy for this series. This is another one. This was still a work in progress though. And what I'm doing with this series, and this kind of explain how I tend to work. I start out with like a blend of one or two colors as the backdrop. And then I begin to, as I told you earlier, like my little tools like this, scratch back into the surface and create like those little effects that you see there. And put the dice in there. I was going to say die, it's in singular, but dice in there, and quotes and all that stuff that just kind of, whatever type of energy is coming to me at the time that I'm creating the piece. And also I like to put some type of roll, like you have the jelly roll painted right there. And that's because I'm a foodie. I love food and stuff like that. So, just that's another form of being creative. And then that, I think that comes from my love of hip hop music and stuff like that. How you'll hear artists mention like their food and stuff like that, or whatever they ate last and stuff like that in their songs. And it's just another way of just giving you an all-around version of me on the canvas, and just me liking to explore stuff. Play with different mediums, and I would like to call myself kind of a fashionable person. If you see me out, I like to dress in a particular way. I like to dress in a way that feels comfortable to me, and I think that like a lot of people could relate to that as well. Colors, I love colors, and as you can see in my work, colors that are really evident, and like they're just all over the place, from the splashes and all that stuff right there. This is the second piece that I created for this. Actually, no, this is the third piece that I created for this series. And a couple of these don't have titles right now, but what they're doing is they're allowing me to just find different things about myself as an artist and just tap into different angles and stuff like that, and just be as creative as possible, and just bring for the most part various styles that I like to practice in the singular form together with the art and with my art, and let me get a little close back to that one right there, so you guys can kind of see. Again, my brother's name pops up right there, right there. You see paper. And love you, bro. So like that again, that's just the way I represent his legacy, and I'm always, going to do that, with my pieces and my creativity, and then as well as not just him. Like you'll look into some of my pieces and see various family member names and stuff like that in my work. And again, the text and all that stuff, I haven't mentioned that, but that comes from my love of John Michel Basquiat's work, and looking at that and just developing my own style, all the way down to the way that I write and paint text and words and stuff like that. This is something that I've begun to develop. Is just my own, way of expressing those different words and text and stuff like that, and putting that energy out there. Like here, that's alkaline, but the way I spelled it. Right here, that's alkaline. So like alkaline water. And again, like somebody could look at that and, it's no telling what they'll see, because I don't like to be forceful with my work. I just like the work to kind of, speak for itself and develop its own story, like the quote that I read earlier. And I'm going to read that quote again because I think that's really, really important. And will probably give like a lot of people an understanding of the art that they have within themselves. So let me read that again. Art is only an illusion while it remains dormant within the artist. Once created, it forms a life of its own and then creates its own course of storylines and encounters among the public. And that's a quote by myself. I wrote that actually the other day. That popped in my head when I was at work. So I was like, okay, that sounds pretty good. And it, and it seems like it has layers to it as well. Like my pieces. They're very layered pieces, all the way down from the first line to the finished version of them. Some of these pieces are like way old, like years and years of work. Like this guy here, I've had this piece here for a couple of years, and this piece here is titled "Cows, Cowards, Kings, and Chicken." And it just started out about my love of, not just my love, but African Americans' love of fried chicken. Not just African Americans, everybody's love of fried chicken. I think everybody loves a nice piece of golden fried chicken. And if you get close in there, you can see like that gold, those gold touches that I put in there. And, so many layers in this piece, all the way down to around the year when Beyonce dropped Lemonade. I got Lemonade wrote in the top up there. So it depends on what's going on in the world and how I can kind of connect that to what I'm creating at the time. My granddad's name, is right here in this corner. If I could get that in there, Will Sellers right there. So again, that's carrying on the legacy of the family, and what that does, that connects to a quote that he used to say, "You're gonna make the tiger come out of me." So that's like something he would say when he gets angry, riled up. But that's his warning to you, like tread lightly, because you're gonna make me angry in a minute, pretty much. So I got Charlie Brown in there. There's just so many layers to these pieces. I got my grandmother's name here in the bottom corner, Rosa. And, rose is like the scientific name for rose. So it's just so much stuff that goes on in the piece. Hot sauce. I'm pretty sure. I think that came from also the Beyonce song when she said something about hot sauce too when I was listening to that. Or, which is French for gold. That's right there in this top corner here. So there's just so many different layers as I read and as I self-educate. A lot of that stuff just begins to find its way into my pieces. And as an artist, that's just very important to stay in touch with, the world, in touch with what's going on, in touch with information, seeking understanding of self, and all that stuff. So let's see what we got. I hope I'm not talking too fast, and I hope everybody's getting a clear understanding of who I am as an artist. If not, you guys just type a question down in the comments, and I'll answer those questions to the best of my ability as well. So, let's see. I'm not sure. I can't really see where the time is on this thing. You're welcome, Laura. Thank you. I was trying to see where the time is on there, but yeah, I'll kind of go into. And again, if you guys have any questions, just type those in the comments, and I'll give you guys an answer if I can, the best that I can. 10:35. Wow, it feels like I've been talking like way longer than that. Okay. Yeah, so what I'll do now is kind of give my voice a break, take a sip of water, which is very good, and kind of get into this piece here that I've been working on. So I'll allow you guys to see me work on this particular piece. And also, at the time too, at this not current moment, but in the last couple of months, I've been working on what will be my second solo exhibition. I don't have a venue, none of that stuff yet. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just creating the work, and I'm going to allow God to guide me and where all that stuff will end up being shown and stuff like that. So, but the title of the show is Unfamiliar Palette. Up, which is the word, but so that's an acronym for up for me, Unfamiliar Palette. And what that talks about is the current times that we're living in. For the most part, that's where the idea came from. And just as individuals and as families trying to stay afloat during these uncertain times of the pandemic, and again, we're just trying to stay alive, doing the best that we can to hold on to the little bit of normalcy that we know and that we're used to, but at the same time, being as safe as possible, practicing the proper precautions, to prevent the spread of this COVID-19 thing, which has been so damaging to everyday life, and just our families and the world, and just taken away from what we know, the freedom that we know. And as an artist, that's very important, freedom. But as a human being, that's very important. But not just the pandemic, the things that we've been going through, and in the culture as African Americans, the fight for just being recognized as humans, for lack of a better word, and just being treated with the proper respect, and being allowed to be who we are without any unnecessary judgments and stuff like that. So up we'll dive into all of that stuff. The marching, the murder of George Floyd. Shout out to his family. Shout out to all of the other families that have had to deal with the raft of police brutality. And that's just like really something. As artists, we have the power to speak on, and I would feel less of a man if I didn't speak on stuff like that in my work. And not representative of my people if I didn't speak on stuff like that. So, you see the colors and all that stuff, but when you get into to the work, all that stuff is gonna be there. You'll see like things where I'll put like one little word or something like that'll take your mind in a complete place different than it was just in a second ago on probably say the left side of the canvas or something like that. And so that's one of the things that's really important too is just being able to hold an individual's attention for longer than a few seconds. I want you to be able to look into a piece of mine and see something pretty much different every time you look at it. And that's the pretty much what I get from a lot of collectors of mine. Is they'll hit me and they'll be like, "Hey, bro, I just seen something in this piece that I didn't see such and such amount of time ago, and I've had this piece for this amount of time." Like I did a piece for a family member of mine's that's been supportive ever since the beginning. He's bought like 2 pieces from me. He still tells me, and he told me like the last time I ran across him, "Hey, bro, like I'm still seeing stuff," and he has this piece up in his office, like. Man, like, and that's where it goes back into the layers of just building on top of one thing on top of another, and that's also something that I think, not that I think, but that I know I could credit to, music and the way music is developed. Like a lot of these songs and stuff, and like instrumentals that we listen to, the background story of these songs are really deep and really tied to the singers' real lives in a lot of cases and real life stories in a lot of cases, and that's something that I love to do with my work, and that goes back again to the word authenticity. Giving you the real me through my work. And like I said, artists, if you're listening, that's very important. I think if you do that, like. You probably won't have a problem selling your work. Your work will probably be going out as fast as you can create it, and I tend to, thank God, have that those kind of results. When I set up and stuff with my pieces, which I set up on McGee Road, 3313 McGee Road. That's where I'm at. But you'll see me out and about. I usually have a big blue tent and I'm out front from like early hours in the morning to like sometimes dark, just sitting out there and enjoying the shout outs from people as they ride by, the horn blows, the people stopping in traffic, looking. And then, the most encouraging part is, individuals pulling over and pulling up and talking to me. And for me, it's not always about the sale. It's about, being able to, talk to people about this creativity and what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And the inspiration behind it, like, that's really, really like my drive. Just being able to tell my story, tell my family's stories, and how those stories became and continue to become art for me. And like I said, no matter how colorful these pieces are, it's real stuff going on in this work. Real narratives, real background stories, real information that I think people need to, know. Not just about me, but other stories. And I like to tell the untold stories, the stories that don't get as much light at the on a regular basis. Yeah, you're right, Laura. Sharing that creative love, and that's really something that gets me going. From me watching a doc or something like that. I love documentaries. Just again, based off of the information that comes with those, and then me being able to take those stories and put a twist on it, but at the same time share key points about that individual or that group or whomever, it's being discussed in that documentary, or that that situation. And let me go back into DAP and where that comes from as well. And again, that means for anybody that just joined and hasn't been with us throughout the entirety of this process this morning. DAP again represents dreams, art, and power. And again, like I said, dreams. Everyone has one, and I think we're here to tap into those dreams. Get those dreams are the guide to our purpose, because God wouldn't put it in you if it wasn't with reason. And I think our Creator creates just like He allows us to create. He created us in His image, so like we're allowed to, put that energy out once we decide to tap into, our stories and our purpose. I mean, and give people what's really us versus what people want from us, which is not. I really conflict with that, of giving a person what they want versus what they need, or versus what you should be giving them from yourself or from anything that you're doing, like involving yourself with a situation or with an individual. I think they will appreciate you in the long run for, just being yourself. So, allow that to come across in anything you do. And again, when you're creating your art, because for me, living your life is creating your art on a daily basis, even when you're not, that doesn't just mean, picking up a canvas, painting, picking up a paintbrush, making brush strokes and anything like that. That means living your life and your purpose, and giving people the real you at the end of the day. So, but yeah, back to unfamiliar. Yeah, DAP. I'm sorry, getting a little ahead of myself. But DAP comes from the African American Vietnam soldiers created this handshake to distinguish themselves while at war, and kind of develop a brotherhood amongst themselves while they were fighting in Vietnam. So that's where DAP comes from, and then that trade between them was able to create a trade between them, came back to the States, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a DAP is now. The handshake where you do this, or however you do it. It's really creative, and a lot of people have several ways of how they do that, and it's become like a worldwide thing. But my first time hearing of it was at the age of 11 years old, and I'll never forget it. I was visiting Cleveland, Ohio, the one and only time that I went there, which is for my grandmother on my father's side funeral, and my uncle, he stays here now, but back then, he was still in Cleveland. So when we got out, it was snowing. We weren't used to that type of weather, and snow up to like your calves and stuff like that. And so he reached for my hand and did like this handshake thing. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "DAP. That's the DAP." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And for some reason, I don't know why, that stuck with me. Just him introducing that different way of greeting to me. And when I began to think about how could I represent my people, how could I represent something a piece of art that inspires art, which is something that's important to me too, art that inspires art. I think that's really good when your art can inspire art. And so like that creative handshake was able to go on and become something way bigger than what it was originally meant to be, and still exists to this day, as we would like for our art to do, one day, just be something that continues to inspire art, continue to inspire artists on any platform. You want someone to be able to look at what you create and have some inspiration come behind that. Yeah, that's kind of that's where DAP comes from, and that's what that means in its original form. Is just representing pretty much the soldiers that fought in the Vietnam War, my people again, and on the meaningful side that I want to give to it today, as I said before, the dream being, what gets you to your purpose, and your purpose, is being found in creating your art, and through creating your art, you are able to connect with and define what your power is, and you go on to utilize that power and for the good, hopefully, in ways that can affect lives and encourage life, inspire more life, inspire individuals to tap into themselves, and if their family history hasn't been into a particular area, tap into themselves and inspire that change. So it's about change and like giving something, like the give and takes of life, yeah. So where we at with the time now, Laura, if you don't mind. Hello again to everybody that's just joining us as well. And again, I'm DMO, the artist. DMO the artist, or DMO the artist, DA. Oh, I can wrap it up. Oh, okay, cool. And I don't mean it like that, but yeah, this has been really really great. And right now, if anybody has any questions, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to work on the piece again and let you guys look at that before we wrap up. This is a piece that I'm currently working on. Let's get a little zoom in on that. But again, you can see right there where it says "Free me, free us, like cuz, free man," and all that stuff. Hero, like all those little words, lead, free, all that stuff is in there. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this thing up. And again, this has been fun. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I thank you, Laura, for all the hard work. We've been trying to get this thing done for, about a year and a half now. And we're finally here. And it's really been a great experience. Not as nerve-wracking as I thought it would be. And again, anybody that's been involved with this, I really appreciate it. And I want to say thanks to my mother for allowing me to use her space and bringing me into this world more than anything, and allowing me to have this opportunity to share my gift with you guys. And thank you guys. Thank you for coming in and sharing your time with me this morning, and experiencing, getting an understanding of who I am and my art. So yeah, shouts out to everybody that's been along this journey with me. Shouts out to all my collectors. I really appreciate you guys. Without you guys, there would be no me. I know y'all call me Demo the GOAT, and I really appreciate that. And I'm just enjoying this life, and giving people the best art that's within me. And yeah, shouts out to everybody, and I appreciate it. And we can wrap this thing up. And thank you guys. See you guys later. Signing out, DMO, Divine Made Original, the artist. Y'all have a good day.